On this episode of the LTD podcast, I'm joined by Elad Shalev and Leo Arnan of Skywatch. We're going to talk all about Skywatch aviation insurance and how it might help you as a drone pilot. So let's talk drones. Hey, what's up? It's Chris, the Drone Geek, on another episode of the LTD podcast. Today, I am joined by two of my friends from Skywatch. We have Elad Shalev and Leo Arnan from Skywatch. And, you know, guys, we've talked before, or at least I've talked with somebody from Skywatch before, and it's been a while. So I thought, you know what, this makes sense to have you guys back on, talk a little bit about Skywatch, what you've got, you know, sort of in the works, and how people can find out a little bit more about Skywatch and how they can work with Skywatch. So before we get into that, I'll just go ahead and give it to you, Elad. What do you do for Skywatch? What's your role? Tell us a little bit about what you do there.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having us here again, Chris. We appreciate it. Always a pleasure. So as I said, I'm Elad Shalev. My responsibility here in Skywatch is all the marketing efforts for Skywatch products. We have 3 products today. One of them is the drone insurance that we're going to discuss today. And I see my main job as creating value to the drone community. I do it through creating content, through initiatives like what we do here, educating drone pilots how to fly safely without worrying too much about covering their drones and all the more complicated things that can happen. So educating the market, giving value, and hopefully, helping people make the right decision as we see it, and help us help them in Skywatch. So if it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. And I appreciate you sharing a little bit about what your role is with Skywatch and how you fit into that picture. Now, Leo, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hey, Chris. So I'm the customer success manager at Skywatch. My everyday is pretty much the A to Z of drone insurance. We're starting up with new clients who are inquiring about purchases. We then have our flows of, there's various types of modifications people need to do during their time as a Skywatch client. And unluckily for some of our clients, we also guide them entirely through the process of filing a claim, which we'll also discuss together today.
Awesome. Hey, I really appreciate you sharing that. So let's go ahead and get right into it, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Skywatch, what Skywatch does, especially in the UAV space, and what kind of services you have to offer. Before we talk about some of those things and how pilots can get directly involved with Skywatch, tell us a little bit about, either one of you or both of you, if you want to just riff off each other, a little bit about Skywatch, the history of the company, how it started, and where it's at now.
Okay, I'll start. Skywatch was established, I think, 5 or 6 years ago. And we didn't mention that, but we're a tech company. We're a startup based in Israel. So we're talking to you from the future now. We're like 10 hours ahead. So it's going to be a great day. But I will say that Skywatch started as a startup company, and the goal was to use tech to help drone enthusiasts fly with peace of mind. Basically, back in the days, drones were like a pretty new thing. And when traditional insurance companies tried to offer drone insurance, it was so expensive and ridiculous that in some cases you could actually pay more for the drone insurance than you paid for the drone itself. So it didn't make any sense. And as drone enthusiasts or co-founders decided to establish a company that is using tech, and especially data, to make drone insurance much better, much more easy to purchase and to use, and in the bottom line, much more affordable and customized to the need of pilots. So 5 years later, today we are one of the leading, if not the leading, drone insurance company in North America, operating both in the US and Canada. And yeah, we're very proud and all the accomplishments we got through like during these years. Yeah, I mean, I can talk forever, but that's like that's it more or less. That's where we started.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's one of the things that attracted me to Skywatch when I began flying my drone is just how affordable it is in the grand scheme of things. You know, I did notice that the price of insurance with Skywatch versus that of another aviation insurance company is significantly lower. And the other thing that I really like about it is, you know, I've been able to insure my drones through like other agencies, just general insurance agencies, but they cut you off as soon as you start to say, well, I'm going to use it commercially for my business. They're like, no, we don't insure you then. It's purely for just the value of the drone, and it's only if you're using it recreationally, which is limiting. Now, in terms of who you serve Part 107 commercial remote pilots, as well as just any commercial remote pilot that's flying for, profit or for in furtherance of a business. But do you also service the recreational flyers as well, the hobbyists, if you will?
Leo, you want to take it?
We do, yeah. So the answer is for sure. We have a versatile pool of clients. Most of our clients are commercial ones because these are the types of users who are actually required, usually legally, to purchase insurance in order to perform their jobs. Mm-hmm. We do also offer lower liability limits, which are a great option for recreational pilots. Even though drones today are very sophisticated and easy to use, for our experience, sometimes things happen, and it's always great to have a peace of mind, which is why we do have various recreational pilots across the U.S. as well.
Okay, yeah, and I think it sort of leads nicely into the next conversation point here is, what is the importance of aviation insurance for drone pilots? When you get involved, when I first started as a drone pilot, I never once thought about, why it might be important to have an insurance policy until I started working with a larger client, a corporation that hired me to do some imagery of a building they were, putting together. They immediately said, no, we need you to carry at least this much insurance coverage liability wise. Can you talk a little bit about the importance and some situations that might call for drone insurance?
Absolutely. So drones have been around for over a decade at this point. Starting off when it was still more innovative, then lots of insurance providers disregarded drone insurance as a mandatory part of doing business. But today, as businesses and drones in general are starting to be more of an everyday part of numerous jobs in the world, we see that clients are requiring by contract to present drone insurance. We see this most commonly in film and media productions, but today even our common real estate photographers are all required to purchase drone insurance before they sign up to work.
Okay. Yeah. And specifically, in what circumstances would you see having aviation insurance for your drone being an important part of it? I mean, are there certain situations where you've seen Skywatch really come in and save the day?
Absolutely. So from the hundreds of claims we've handled so far, we've seen tons of cases where our coverage ended up being utilized for our clients. The most common reason for a claim and for a Skywatch policy to be utilized is hull coverage. We cover drones for physical coverage, and these are the most common types of incidents that we witness. These can happen due to poor weather conditions, especially the eastern part of the U.S., northern part of the U.S. We've had lots of cases where poor connection signals, human error also, even for the best of our pilots, can sometimes occur. So hull coverage comes very in handy in cases where the drone is physically damaged or also stolen, because our policy covers theft, which also happens every once in a while. And then regarding our liability coverage, this is something that rarely happens because drones today, again, they're sophisticated and they have ways to prevent serious damage from occurring. But we've had cases where drones hit other people's properties, like someone's windshield or window. We've also had cases where a third party tried to, catch a drone with their bare hands and got damaged. In which case, our bodily injury and property damage policies probably saved the day for those clients at the very least.
I just a fun thing to add. I once wanted to write, we had all these funny cases, and once I felt like there's an opportunity. We had a funny case, and I digged into history and searched for all the funny things that not funny, but weird things that happen with drones. And apparently there's a bunch of them. Multiple cases when eagles stole a drone while flying, or taking pictures that we were not supposed to, urban areas, or all kind of interesting cases that can happen. So people don't always think about it, but it's more common than you think. Yeah.
And I actually have a story I'd like to share about Skywatch and how you guys helped me out. I've never had any situation where anybody's been injured by my drone, so I'm just going to knock on some wood for that one. And but when I was in Alaska, I went on an 11-day road trip through Alaska, and I took my drone with me. I was flying a Mavic 2 Pro at the time, and I found this just beautiful glacier, and I was like, I got to get out and I've got to get some footage of this. I got to get some pictures of it. I was stoked because I had just gone on this big hike to the top of this mountain, and then there was this beautiful glacier there. So I flew my drone out over the glacier. Everything was going well, no problems at all. The day previous, I had actually turned the obstacle avoidance sensors off on my drone because I was flying in an area that was very highly populated with like trees and things like that, and it actually made it harder to fly. So I turned it off so that I could fly through that high traffic area. I never turned the obstacle avoidance back on. So I was flying the drone. I thought to myself, all right, one last shot. I'd started backing the drone up. I was going to do this really cool reveal shot, and wouldn't you know it, I put the drone right into the side of a cliff, and it tumbled down to the bottom of the glacier, and it's probably still laying there because it was so remote. But, the Skywatch was so easy to work with. And, I went back to you guys, and I just had some really terrible circumstances. Like the flight log didn't save to the tablet that I was using. Of course, I didn't have the drone. There was no way for me to recover the drone because it was in the middle of a glacier somewhere. But, after a few questions and some conversation with a representative from your team, you hooked me up and followed through on the policy that I had purchased from you. And, I was able to replace my drone within 10 days, which was absolutely fantastic. That's my personal experience and why I will continue to use Skywatch as my aviation insurance solution for my drone business. But tell us a little bit more about your customer service and what you feel sets you apart from other drone and aviation insurance companies.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you. And it's great to hear that. That's why we're here for. Again, as drone enthusiasts, our goal is to just help the community fly with peace of mind. And it's really great to hear these stories. As you said, there's a reason behind what you just described and the fact that our customer support was so supportive. We've been around for a while. And as I said earlier, we are considered today one of the leading, if not the leading, drone insurance company. Skywatch is insuring a vast majority or a huge amount of drone pilots today in North America, and we have a lot of experience. We have three main advantages, I'll say, compared to our competitors. Without names, I think we don't see them as competitors. Each company that help people fly safely, that's amazing, and we support that. But I do think that Skywatch has three big advantages. The first one is the professionalism. The fact that we have so many claims and so many pilots and years of experience, and we're really focused on drones, made our customer support super professional. And our product team is always constantly looking for ways to improve the experience. And we're very involved with the community. So this advantage of being around for a while and being involved in the community gives us the trust and also the professionalism level to help pilots. Other than that, I'll say flexibility is a big thing with Skywatch. We didn't mention that, but Skywatch is the only company to offer annual insurance, monthly insurance, and on-demand insurance. So you can choose the duration that you want and customize it according to your own specific needs. You can play with your policy. You can choose like how much liability damage you want to cover, to which extent. If you want hull coverage, do you want to cover your equipment? You don't have to. You want worldwide coverage. You want indoor coverage. You can customize it according to your needs, and you'll get the rates will be according to your own specific needs. So flexibility is big here. And the third thing is ease of use. Super simple. We don't want to hustle. And if our goal is to help people fly with peace of mind, we need to cover them and be there when things happen, but also don't make their life hard, right? Insurance companies are famous for not being there for the customer and being very deep into bureaucracy and paperwork and stuff like that. We don't want to do that. We want people to, as you said, get as soon as possible when things happen, get their money, get whatever they need to get back. And also, when they purchase insurance, when we just start, not just when things happen, we want it to be as quick and easy as possible. So 2-3 minutes on our portal, and you're good to go. There's like three stages, super quick. You customize what you want, put your details, put your credit card, press the OK, and you already have your policy in your email with your logo, with your employer logo, or anything else you want to have there. You have it, and that's it. You can go. So that's the three main advantages compared to our so-called competitors, I'll say.
This episode of Let's Talk Drones is brought to you by The Droning Company, the #1 online resource for commercial remote pilots based in the United States. If you are a Part 107 holder, you got to check out The Droning Company. They've got a second-to-none job board for UAV pilots, plus tons of resources and information to make you a more well-rounded drone professional. Check out their website, thedroningcompany.com. Memberships are nominally priced. You are going to make back the cost of your membership for 1 year and then some with your first drone job captured with the Droning Company's job board or your dedicated remote pilot profile. That's right, you can set up your own profile. It's a nice little area to put all of your work, your portfolio as a UAV professional, all in one spot that you can then use to get jobs flying your drone. Check them out online, thedroningcompany.com, and across all major social media platforms.
Yeah, and I got to say, just from a personal standpoint, I have to testify to that. I mean, that is really how easy it is. And using Skywatch, you guys have got it down to a science. Like, I have the app on my phone, so I can view my insurance policy in real time through the application. I've got, when I signed up, not only did I sign up through the website that, allowed me to download my policy there, but you also emailed me a copy of it. I mean, you make it so easy to present the documents to a client, because for people that aren't aware, a lot of the time, and this was true with my experience in Alaska, as well as some of my bigger clients that I do drone work for, they require that you put them on the insurance policy for, the liability damage. And sometimes with other companies, that can be a very difficult and arduous process. With Skywatch, it's as simple as you just need a little bit of information about the company that you're, or the organization that you're flying with on your policy, and you're good to go. And what's even nicer about that is if you do an annual or a monthly policy, removing them off of that policy is as easy as it is to add them. So once you're done with your job or the flight that you had in mind that you needed to add that organization or that entity to, you can get right on, you can take them off, and then they're no longer on that policy. And speaking of policies, I did want to talk about just a little bit, because there are some people that watch this channel that are, just sort of getting their feet wet in terms of what it means to be a drone pilot and what you have to do for some clients or in some situations if they're looking to do an insurance policy. Obviously, if you've got car insurance, home insurance, renter's insurance, whatever, you understand the difference between an annual policy or a monthly policy or a quarterly policy. But a lot of people aren't familiar with what an on-demand policy is. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like and how that works for drone pilots in particular?
Sure. Leo, you want to take it, or I'll take it?
Sure, yeah. So on-demand coverage is most commonly used for our newer pilots. Like you said, people who are still figuring out what exactly they want to do with their drones. Our on-demand option is available for liability coverage exclusively, so it's for third-party bodily injury and property damage. We have more recreational pilots who use it when they're just starting out, before they're ready to actually purchase a full policy. Businesses tend to go with more robust policies like our annual plan. I would say that on the business aspect, we've got real estate, lots of real estate photographers, for example. That's the first thing that comes to mind. They are professional pilots, but they're not using their drone that much throughout the month. Like, they can have 2 or 3 shoots per month. Mm-hmm. And then instead of paying for an entire month, our on-demand option allows them to either go on the shoots, like when they're at the estate, just open up the app and book it effective immediately, Or they can also book it like the night before, 2 days before, by just placing their address. We've got a cool map situation where you can like zoom in and select your exact flying route. The cool thing is that if you pre-book an on-demand policy, you actually have the option to cancel the policy up to an hour in advance. Let's say you booked it and there's poor weather conditions, then you can cancel it, get a full reimbursement, and rebook it whenever you need it again.
That's cool. See, I didn't know that you had that feature. So I learned something new today. Now, I use you, I think I'm on a monthly basis right now, but my business is looking this year to be busier than it's ever been. So I may actually tweak my policy to go annual. But since I don't use the on-demand, I didn't really know that was a feature of it. But that's useful to know, especially for recreational pilots. And I would say just from my own experience, it's this nuance. So keep that in mind if you're watching or listening to this. As a drone pilot, my experience is that when I was a hobbyist and I was only flying for fun, but I wanted that peace of mind that if I did crash the drone and damage something, I would be covered. The on-demand policy is what I used. That's what I tapped into a lot because I didn't want to have to pay a monthly fee or an annual fee for coverage that I really wasn't going to use that often. But if you're running a business and you have, a regular flow of work coming through that involves your drones, it's really important to maybe look at those monthly or those annual plans because you're going to have coverage without having to constantly go in and, schedule that flight, schedule that job in an on-demand fashion. It just sort of gives you that peace of mind without having to constantly stay on top of it.
Yeah, another interesting use case, by the way, is schools that teach students how to fly drones.
Okay.
And sometimes the students don't have their own drones, or they bring the drone for the first time and don't have insurance. So on-demand can help. Another interesting use case, stores. So stores that allow people to kind of play with drones before they actually buy them. So we have all kind of interesting use cases for this on-demand that, again, help pilots with unique needs to use our service. So, yeah.
That's a good point. And those are applications that I think only somebody that works for a company like Skywatch would have access to because, sitting in my position, I just think, oh, hey, I've got a construction client that has a skyscraper they're working on. If I run my drone through a window on that skyscraper, I want to be able to be covered. But you don't even think about, right, there's the Bite Center in New Jersey. There's the Warren County Community College, for instance, that have students that are flying these drones that might not necessarily belong to them, but want coverage. So that's really good information to have, especially if you're somebody that's out there listening, that's maybe thinking about creating your own drone style academy. You want to teach people how to fly. Skywatch would be a great solution to protect your own investments in your equipment while allowing somebody the freedom to fly and operate the drone as they wish. And speaking of getting set up with an insurance policy, whether it is on demand, whether it is monthly or annually, how does somebody go about getting a Skywatch policy? We talked about how easy it is, but really, what's the first step for them?
So basically the website is the go-to. You can go on our website from any device. So your mobile, iPad, laptop, whatever is convenient to you. Go on our website. It will take you a click and a half, maybe, to get to the portal. And then in the portal, as I said earlier, you have 3 steps. Customize your plan, put your details, put your credit card details. So super simple. And in the first page, you put the liability that we discussed. You choose if you want hull or not, how many drones you want to cover. You can cover a fleet if you want. You can cover multiple amount of pilots under the same policy. You can choose the amount of medical expenses coverage if you want. So all these things, and there's a lot of options there. You can play with it, customize it to your needs, put your details, and buy, and that's it. There's also the app, as you mentioned, where you can also get the on-demand coverage. So these are the 2 main ways, and the website at least is available on all devices. Very simple to use.
It really is that simple. And I cannot, and I know these guys cannot emphasize enough how simple it is to sign up for a policy of any level with Skywatch. It's very, very easy. Now, let's talk a little bit about money. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry,
I forgot one more option, and a very important one. There are people out there that prefer to talk to a person, which is legit. and you can always call us. So we're talking to you from Israel at the moment, but there's also, and representatives here in Israel cannot answer the phone like Leo here, but we have a whole team in the States, in California and New York and Texas, and people that can answer the phone and help you get coverage. So if you don't want to get on your computer, you don't have reception, okay, or any other reason, you want to talk to a person that will help you, that's also possible. So we're always available. There's also a chat bot on the website. You can ask questions. So the website and the portal and the app are very simple. But if you want some extra help, emails and phone calls and asking us on the website forum, they're all also possible.
That's good to know, because there are people, and I tend to be one of them sometimes, but other times, like with something that I'm familiar with and drone stuff, whether it's insurance or the technology itself, I'm familiar enough with it that I don't mind the chat bots. I don't mind doing things electronically without ever talking to a person. But there are some aspects of my life that I do just want to talk to a person. And I know there are a lot of people out there. So that's super important to know that you can reach Skywatch via phone, email. They have a chat bot as well. But that's very, very helpful. Now, I know one of the things that a lot of my viewers are concerned about is pricing. And I know that also with Skywatch and any insurance coverage, whether it's for your drone or your car or whatever, it largely depends. I mean, it's going to be circumstantial depending upon what kind of coverage you want, what kind of equipment you have that you're trying to insure. But what can the average user, expect to pay when it comes to a monthly or annual policy, or even your on-demand policies?
Right. So starting off with our on-demand options, the typical range starts at around $7 per hour. It can be a bit lower, a bit higher. We've actually got this cool algorithm on on-demand that calculates your risk analysis. If you're flying at an empty field, you're probably going to be looking at around like $5 or $6 compared to flying by a train station or like a populated shopping center with more risk involved, where the price can go up a bit. On average, though, like the highest it goes is around like $20, and this is closer to airports and places that really have higher risks. Regarding our monthly policies, the standard rate for our most common $1 million liability coverage starts at around $62 per month. Again, this can be a bit more or a bit less depending on your exact fleet of drones and whether you want hull coverage. Our annual coverage, which is usually for more robust businesses with multiple drones, starts at around $750 for the whole year, again varying on your drones and the types of operations.
Yeah, and that's important to know. And I guess one other question, I mean, if you're listening to that, and that was a great detail, and you're any kind of good at math, you can sort of do the math and figure out what that differential would be. But for somebody like me, who's not great at math off the top of their head, what is the advantage in terms of financials between going with an annual policy versus a monthly policy?
Great question. So, right off the bat, we try to offer the best rates possible for all our clients. So a monthly one, for example, is if you fly throughout the whole year, you're not going to be paying too much more than an annual plan. The main plus with the monthly one is the fact that you can turn it off based on seasonality. We want it to be as convenient as possible. So the pricing factor is not as a big one as the fact of seasonality and just the usage of your drone. That being said, though, we do offer a lower hull rate on our annual plans. So let's say on top of liability coverage, like in your case with your drone incident, if you want to cover the drone itself, you're actually going to be saving money if you were to insure it for the entire year. Now, let's say a claim happens sometimes throughout the year and you get the same exact drone. You're not going to be paying anything additional. We'll reimburse you for the first one and we'll switch the serial number so you can cover a new one.
Okay. Gotcha. That's good to know. And, that's a question a lot of people have is, okay, I've crashed my drone.
I have this insurance policy with Skywatch. They've reimbursed me for it. Now what's the next step? Do I need to buy a replacement to the exact model that I have? Can I use that money to upgrade the drone that I had, put some towards that? What is the case? And it's good to know that, if they do choose to just go with the same model drone that they had, it's just as simple as, sending you the serial number that they have for the new drone. They replace it on the policy, and it now that's covered as well.
Right. Yeah, you're totally right. That's the easiest case. That being said, it's still very, very common and also very easy to switch and upgrade to your new drone. So let's say, even not involving a claim, let's say you decided to upgrade your drone to a new one that came on the market, you can actually remove your existing one and even get a prorated refund for it. And then we can charge you a prorated premium to add your new drone to the policy.
Oh, see, that's really convenient. I mean, to know that, and anybody that's out there considering insurance, I mean, that should be testament enough, along with the idea of just how easy it is to sign up, and the monthly policy for sure, that cancel anytime. For smaller pilots and smaller operations that are a little bit more seasonal in the nature of how they work, that's super important to know, because it's flexible, it's easy, and you get the same coverage in terms of the service and what you're insured for. So we are running a little bit low on time here, so we are going to wrap it up. But I do want to give you guys the opportunity to just tell us about where people can find out more information about Skywatch, your website, your social media handles. Where can people go to learn more about your company and what you have to offer?
Okay, so all over the place. Skywatch is on all social networks, obviously, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok. So definitely search for us on LinkedIn. I mean, that's another channel, by the way. I always get, personal messages through social media from pilots, whether it's funny or interesting stories. Or they actually need help with getting their insurance. So that's also another way to communicate with us and to just, learn about Skywatch and the things that we're doing. A lot of the content that we upload is not necessarily insurance-based. I mean, we are talking about insurance, but in many cases, we'll just put interesting content that we think is valuable for the drone community. Same thing for our website. We have a blog on our website. Once a year, we publish a report. We have a lot of data, and we're into data, as I said earlier. So once a year, we publish a report with interesting insights about the drone industry and kind of trends and what's the most commonly used drone now and whatever, all kind of interesting statistics. So that's a cool thing to check, and just general stuff coming from people from the drone industry, or just interesting information. Can be interesting stuff for people that have a drone business, or interesting facts about drones. So again, it's not just insurance. There's also just things that we think that is cool and interesting for the drone insurance, for the drone community. So our website and the blog and social media. And cool podcasts like this one. So definitely search for us on Spotify, and you'll find a bunch of interesting stuff like this. That's it more or less. Yeah,
that's great to know. And I just want to I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but if you are a drone pilot and you are looking for insurance coverage that will be reliable, fast, and easy to tap into, Skywatch gets my endorsement 110%. They've helped me out before in the past. Super easy to use. I've had great communications with your team at Skywatch. Certainly check them out. Skywatch.ai on the internet. And then, of course, as Elad said, all over social media. Elad, Leo, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We'll have you guys on again in the future for sure. This is a lot of fun. Until next time, I'm Chris, the Drone Geek, and I am out of here.